Facebook Marketplace can sure have some interesting wonders, and this is definitely one of them. This is an HP Omen gaming computer. Well, I say gaming in air quotes because, you know, it's the brand name. That I just picked up off of Facebook Marketplace this afternoon for $180. It was originally listed for $200, but, you know, whatever. So, what comes included, and does it work? Well, let's find out. So this machine is supposed to work, I hope it does anyway, and well, there's not really too much that I know about it other than the specifications and that I have it, and it's 180 bucks. So here we go. Let's dive into it. So the first thing is it's got a Ryzen 5 case badge on the side. I looked up the model number. This is a Ryzen 5 1400, and I believe, well, that's probably the entry-level CPU, not too sure. This does have one of those like side panel release things, so go ahead and we'll hit that real quick. And get the side panel off, and we can take a look inside. This was definitely an entry-level model, no doubt, but, you know, regardless, it was still definitely a lot cheaper than it should have been, probably because they were just looking to get rid of it. So who knows what's actually wrong with that. I'll have yet to find out because I've yet to power this thing on, so that's a mystery. Woohoo. So, CPU-wise, it's supposed to have a Ryzen 5 1400 CPU, which is, I believe, 4 cores and 8 threads. So that's not too bad. I don't know what chipset this actually uses. I have yet to look inside of everything else to figure that out. I would predict something like B350 or maybe even a very early B450 system. I mean, this has a first-gen Ryzen CPU, so the onboard graphics are blocked off. So presumably this was prepared for some kind of APU upgrade in the future if, you know, it was compatible enough via BIOS update, which I'm not sure about. Again, I haven't powered this thing on. I do know this uses an MSI motherboard. It's the MS-7A81 version 1.0. So that's what this thing has. And the other specs of it are not the most impressive, but this thing can definitely have some upgrades applied to it. It could still be a pretty decent system. The first major power supply upgrade thing I would probably consider doing first, because it's a 300 watt power supply, so in HP's typical fashion, it's a very small power supply. Although it does have a PCI Express power connector, actually a 8-pin version, or a 6+2. Also, my finger's bleeding. That's wonderful. Probably not directly caused by this thing, but whatever. And yeah, it can actually accept a slightly beefier graphics card, like a 1650 if you had one of those, or a 1660, but, you know, nothing too crazy. Actually, speaking of the graphics card, you can see this little dinky thing in here, which actually has a red PCB, which is fairly fascinating. This is actually what NVIDIA and HP claim to be a GTX 1030, which is some kind of OEM card. It's basically a 1030 2GB GDDR5, so it'll be interesting to benchmark that. It does have a cooling fan on the bottom. It's a little dirty, but it's not bad, and should at least perform like a 1030 should. As far as system RAM goes, it's got 8 gigs of 2400 megahertz DDR4, but it's on a single stick. But luckily the motherboard has 4 slots, so you can put in more memory alongside that stick, which is actually pretty nice. Right down there is an NVMe slot, which is not occupied. This didn't have an SSD when it was new, it was optional. But it does have the Wi-Fi card. Right down there is a little Intel wireless card. I think I read the model number out earlier. It was like a 7265 NGW or something of that nature. Don't quote me on that though, but I believe that's what that was. But you do get a 1 terabyte Seagate 7200 RPM hard drive, which is not too bad. And I don't believe this has a DVD drive because there's the cutout on the front for one, but it's not equipped. I mean, there is a ODD thing there, but that just means the cable's there. It doesn't mean the actual drive is there. Not like it really bothers me too much because I really wouldn't use it on a system like this. It's definitely a little bit proprietary-y, but, you know, it's whatever. So, the anticipation is ever rising. Let's go ahead and see if this thing actually powers on. And we'll go into the rest of the details later if this thing actually works, because obviously it's kind of important. Okay, don't know what to expect, but I do have my keyboard and mouse connected, speakers, DVI, and I'll do Ethernet later if it's safe. Okay, well, no explosions. That's a good sign. Okay, red power light. The front lights up bright red. That's cool. I think I have my monitor set for DVI. I do. Hey, that's a good sign. It's booting up. Perfect. Well, that was pretty easy anyway. Well, Windows is probably going to be a slow demon on a mechanical hard drive. Uh-oh. Did it freeze? Oh, no, it's just taking forever to start up. Never mind. I thought that it froze there for a moment. Anyways, looks like that fan's moving, that fan's moving. Okay, so there's nothing like hardware-wise so far that seems to be wrong, which is good. And obviously it powers on. Hard drive sounds healthy. Nothing seems to be like grinding or making anything unusual. Very quiet computer, actually. That's surprising. So now it's just waiting for this thing to boot up, I guess. All right, good news. It did boot up. However, unfortunately, the computer is currently locked with a password, and it's also running what looks to be a very old version of Windows 10 because it looks like, because it doesn't have the blurred background, I don't think this is running, I want to say like 1809 or 1903 even, so youch, that's not very up to date at all. So I'm waiting to hear back from the guy on Marketplace to give me the password because I told him I was going to erase it anyway, but I need to get the password. I mean, not that it really matters for me, because I would just want to do a clean install of like 20H2 anyway, but still it'd be nice to, you know, get in there and, you know, verify everything is there and functional. Okay, so what I've done is I've done the left shift and press restart on the lock screen, so it takes me to the recovery thing here. So if I got my mouse, let's see if we can go to troubleshoot and okay, it does have the HP install of Windows still. That's good. I'll come back to that later, but what I want to do is to just go under the... Oh, my mouse is not liking being up there on the top of that. Let's go to the UEFI firmware settings, and let's go into the setup and just verify everything if I can, or as much of it as I can. I'm still waiting on the guy to give me the password for the PC. Not like it really matters, but, you know, just so I can go into Device Manager and double-check everything before I reset the PC inevitably. I mean, I'm sure I could probably reset it without needing the password, but, you know, to play it safe, because Windows 10 is a bit finicky when it comes to that sort of stuff because of Microsoft accounts and whatever. Okay, cool. So we do have an option for system recovery in here, but I'm going to press F1 for system information. Here we go. Yep, Ryzen 5 1400, 8 gigs of RAM at 2400 megahertz, although unfortunately it's single channel, so I definitely want to get this thing updated. Apparently it was born on the 1st of February 2019. That's awfully late for a first-gen Ryzen to be out of the box, but I don't know the circumstances behind it, so I don't really know. But what I do know is that's the hardware that we are working with today, which is pretty cool. So, okay, let's see if we can get into the BIOS setup with F10. Okay, it's just your typical HP BIOS setup, not anything special, but I've worked with this before with multiple different systems. It's fairly simple to use. So we're just gonna go ahead and just save changes and exit, and then once it reboots, I'm gonna spam the escape key for the startup menu because that's what HPs normally have, at least these modern ones. Let's see if we can get back into the menu there. There we go. And let's press F11 to go under the system recovery. Aha, it does still exist. It says, please wait. Okay, so as it turns out, the HP Recovery Manager is actually still on the hard drive, which is fantastic. So I was able to go in, start the system recovery, and I elected not to save any of the original owner's data because, well, I also don't need to have their original data. So I don't have to have their password, luckily, but, you know, I'm still going to get it from them just in case and something comes up. But I think if it's formatting the Windows partition, it should be fine. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and let this thing do its thing. It says estimated time remaining 15 minutes, but I imagine it's going to take longer because it's a mechanical hard drive. But hopefully this works. And not, like I said, I'm going to probably not keep the install of Windows on there. I'm probably going to do it clean, but I guess if there's some value adds, maybe it might just be worth it. I don't actually know. But I am going to get to work on cleaning this thing cosmetically because it is quite dusty. So I'm going to see about going to Wally World. I'm going to go get me another air duster can or something. I'm going to blow out the dust from the fans, the power supply, and the graphics card mainly. And this thing should definitely clean up a heck of a lot more nicely. And then, I don't know, maybe after have my fun with this thing as it sits spec-wise. Maybe I'll throw in some money into upgrading it. Probably the biggest thing is going to be getting it an SSD, but also more RAM. And then eventually down the road, switch out the graphics card with something else. We'll see. All right, it's been at least an hour, and recovery is complete. So now we can go ahead and press finish. Let the computer restart. And we should be at the Windows 10 out-of-box experience because it's run sysprep. So we should be good to go. But let's find out what happens. I guess I can comment, I can say that this doesn't exactly have a fast hard drive in it, but I think we already figured that one out. Yes, our region is the United States, and my mouse does not like being on top of that surface at all. So time to go through the Windows setup, and I'll meet you guys at the desktop. Welcome to the best Windows ever, and also the best version of Microsoft Edge ever. Where the hell did I put the mouse? There it is. Wonderful, we have made it, and it's time to answer the question as to what version of Windows 10 this is running, because I was running a bit of a joke inside of my Discord server. So I guess the first thing we can do is go down here to the start button, right click on it, and hit system. I bet 1803, I had another person bet 1709, so let's find out what it actually is here. I'm probably going to be wrong. Haha, I was right! I was so on the ball on that one. 1803. Yes. Cool. We have made it. And as you can see, Omen by HP, Ryzen 5 1400, 8 gigs of RAM. And if we go under display here, we go down to advanced display settings. Yep, NVIDIA GeForce GT 1030. So I don't know what they're talking about by being a GTX 1030 because it's just a 1030 either way. Doesn't really matter too much. Let's see, when's the graphics driver from? I'm gonna find that pretty hilarious, whatever it is. Oh, it's right behind here. All right, let's go to the adapter properties. And whenever it decides it wants to catch up with itself, because mechanical hard drives are the best thing ever, especially trying to run Windows 10. Maybe someday it'll catch up on itself. I think there's some probable HP thing that's gonna come up in the background. Oh, okay. March 16th, 2018. Well, that's definitely going to need to be updated, but luckily, the 1030 is still supported by modern drivers, so, hey, not too bad. Okay, well, I think what I'm going to do is, well, obviously I'm going to get some driver updates installed, but I'm also going to, I don't know, maybe I might consider doing a Windows update to 20H2. I might do that real quick just to get it out of the way, because it might be a while before anything. But that's probably going to take too long as well, so I'll see if I can test a quick couple of games, but nothing really, probably for this video at least. I'll probably benchmark it in another video when I have all the updates done, because I think it's probably going to take quite a while. And I figured it was going to open something HP related as soon as it got to the desktop, so that's fun. Anyways, at least for this video, as far as I'm concerned, that's going to wrap it up. So if you like what you saw, well then click the thumbs up button. If you didn't like it so much, well then the other button works too. And if you want to get notified of when I upload new videos and or want to stay in touch with me uploading new videos, there will be the subscribe button and the bell icon down below. So I'd recommend you click on both of them so you can stay up to date with every Jordan Wooler video that comes out. And with that having been said, thank you all very much for coming to watch, and I'll catch you all in the next one. It is now, well, the next day, and I actually did decide to end this video off with some benchmarks of some games because I figured, why not? It's for this computer, and it's, well, current hardware situation. So I have tested a few different games, and there you can see I've done a little bit of something here on the desktop. So, without further ado, let's get into it, and then we'll discuss. definitely this machine has a bit of upgrade potential. As it currently sits, I would say that GPU-wise, it's probably similar to that of an old GTX 600 or 700 series card, in that range or so. I mean, it's not really that great of a card. And, you know, it's expected it's a 1030. It's an entry-level card, which makes sense. The CPU, on the other hand, I would pretty much compare it to pretty much an i7-3770 or a 4770, somewhere in that range. Because, I mean, it definitely can keep up with modern games, but it definitely is a lower-end chip, and that shows because these first-gen Ryzens, while they were definitely an improvement over FX, it was mainly just a catch-up chip, and they're definitely starting to show their age a little bit, but this one can still hold its own. But it might be worth considering an upgrade, since I'm sure the motherboard definitely could, although I've yet to apply BIOS updates. I wanted to wait until after this video was done before I did that, which I'll probably be doing off-camera, but I digress. So yeah, definitely... at least as it sits. I mean, the AAA games, no. But for the lighter weight games, yeah, absolutely, this thing can still do pretty good. But definitely, I would probably do some upgrades with this thing, because graphics-wise especially, that's where this thing is definitely being held back. And it was obvious that the config that this thing was entry-level, and for a reason, you know, to keep probably the cost down. But even still, like, it's still decently capable as it sits for lower setting, lower resolution gaming if you needed to, I guess. But anyways, that's it for this Omen for real this time. So hopefully in another video we can do something more interesting with this. I don't know if it'd be software related or hardware related. We'll have to see. But until then, if you liked what you saw for real this time, click the thumbs up button. If you didn't like it so much, well, then the other button works too. And if you want to see more content related around this machine, or perhaps some other content, then the subscribe button exists for that reason there. And don't forget to click the bell so you don't miss when I upload new videos. And with that having been said, thank you all very much for coming to watch. I'll see you all in the next one.